Winston Churchill exhorted us to never waste a good crisis. COVID 19 has forced us into a prolonged timeout. It has brought radical lifestyle changes. As we have moved into a calibrated opening up, it is time for us to begin contemplating the end of the crisis, envision what the world will look like in its aftermath, how the pandemic has changed the way that we live and we work, and what we need to do to adjust to the new normal of the post COVID 19 world. Today, I will present three arguments to you. First, I argue that the new normal of the post COVID 19 world will see major changes in our professional lives. I see three vectors of professional change: the accelerated importance and use of information technology, unconventional ways of working, including freelancing and work from home, and increased inter-organizational and intersectoral collaborations and networks. Second, I argue that these changes will demand personal transformations from each of us, of which three are cardinal: embracing uncertainty and change, becoming a continuous learner, and practicing personal and collective social responsibility. My third and final argument is that capacity building is the single enabler and tool available to us to navigate the changes that we will confront in our professional and personal worlds. To leverage capacity building, we need to harness youth who are outside the formal education network, focus on the frontline and backroom workers who are vital to decision making and implementation, and design training programs so as to train teams and not just individuals. These, in essence, are my three arguments. And that is why today's program is so important to you, and this training program is so vital for your working future. Why has COVID 19 thrust this imperative upon us? Does a crisis by itself ensure reform? Every great crisis to mankind has seen a period of confusion followed quickly by rapid counter responses. In challenging times, we question accepted realities, devise quick solutions, often outside the usual compass, some of which may be effective enough to become normal quotidian practice. This was demonstrated in the world wars as well as pandemics such as the Spanish flu. History also suggests that the global economy is remodeled in significant ways after a major crisis like COVID 19, spurring the adoption of new technological strategies and business models. The SARS outbreak in 2003 is seen as the causal factor for the adoption of online shopping by China, which resulted in Alibaba's rise. The balance of payments crisis in India led to the paradigm shift of liberalization, globalization, and privatization, LPG as we call it for short. The economic and humanitarian crisis unleashed by COVID 19 is thus an opportunity to reform sectors such as skilling, healthcare, the unorganized sector, and education, which are the underpinnings of our political economy. What changes will we see in the post COVID 19 professional world? We are witnessing live several shifts that are taking place in the world of work. The multi sectoral acceleration of information technology, the advent of freelancing and work from home modes, and the need for lateral, cross sectoral, and inter organizational collaboration are three such seminal changes. And let us look at each of these. The advent of technology. The CEO of IBM, speaking in an online forum, said, and I quote him here: history would look back on this as the moment when the digital transformation of business and society suddenly accelerated. COVID 19 increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. As schools closed in many parts of the world, e learning and e delivery of education saw a smart breakthrough. Even I found myself addressing several audiences across the world in one day. I would probably be addressing someone in Berlin in the morning and someone in Nepal in the afternoon and someone in Jalandhar in the evening, because digitalization made it possible. Online learning made it possible. States like Karnataka launched the Makkalavani, or the children's voice, for disseminating educative and entertaining content to children. Now, will the change roll back once we are over the pandemic? Even while keeping teachers integral to the education process, I anticipate that there will be a new flexibility and agility with curated content through platforms such as Coursera, and entirely new learning experiences through artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, and mixed experience tools. Healthcare is seeing similar changes. Digital efforts in Wuhan to contain the crisis via smartphone trackers demonstrated a powerful new public health tool. Kerala Police launched Project Eagle Eye to use drones for surveillance during the lockdown, using technology as a tool to complement manual surveillance in topography which is inaccessible, such as pocket roads and open fields where jeeps cannot traverse. In the entertainment industry, a host of OTTs, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all are seeing a big boost. Netflix viewer numbers swelled in 2020 and 21 as lockdowns across countries kept people at home. Even the requirements of daily activities need digital activation navigation now. As people have been forced physically apart, they turn to video calls on WhatsApp. All these demonstrate the growing acceptance of technology to help us feel connected. As people become more comfortable with technology and service providers upgrade their infrastructures, creating a better pipeline and more streamlined and user friendly interfaces, technology becomes easier to live with day to day. The second change in our professional world is the growth of freelancing and work from home modes. COVID 19 propelled us to experiment with work from home on an unprecedented scale. As the CEO of Wipro put it, work from home will define a new normal for a lot of industries and will create opportunities for us to be able to do more work globally. WFH has gone beyond our routine processes and scaled new innovative heights. India demonstrated this in the Facebook Geo and the Google Geo deal. The US dollar 5.7 billion investment by Facebook and Google in Reliance Industries Geo platforms in 2020 set a new standard in remote negotiation, with extensive M&A dialogue happening online, even including due diligence and agreement negotiations. Now, I had a kind of vantage point. My daughter is a corporate lawyer, and she was herself involved, and she was working on this very transaction. So I was marveling at what technology made possible, because this is one of the biggest deals that has taken place when there was a nationwide lockdown in both India and the US, the two countries where the two parties of the deal were based. Transactions of this magnitude, especially transnational ones, usually involve considerable travel and face to face meetings and facilities by the higher management and their financial and legal advisors. This time, however, all this happened online. The second shift that we may expect is the emergence of the gig economy. Each of us will have to get used to becoming a freelancer. Remote hiring of technical talent will become the norm. Even before COVID 19, we were seeing permanent employers, such as governments and universities, cutting down on hiring and increasingly outsourcing even their core functions. While this may create job insecurity, it is not necessarily a bad thing or even a new one. Take a surgeon, for example. She is attached to one hospital, but she consults in many hospitals, and some surgeons even consult online, and they earn in remuneration from multiple organizations. A talented and skilled individual can therefore peddle her expertise across organizations and be paid by all of them. Remote hiring of talent will become the norm, with corporate positions opening up to skilled candidates everywhere, prioritizing skills over pedigree and geography, all of which is good news for both the economy and the talent pool. It makes talent pools more diverse and businesses and economies stronger. The third change is that gig economy and pervasive freelancing will bring in cooperation and coordination across sectoral silos. As freelancing becomes prevalent, teams will be self created rather than being curated by leaders and will be more interdependent, more collaborative, more agile, and more flexible. COVID 19 saw the pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi forget their commercial rivalry to join hands to build a vaccine, pooling their relative strengths of adjuvant technology and a virus antigen, while Google and Apple teamed up to evolve standards for contact tracing. At that time, I was working in the Department of Youth Empowerment and Sports, and my own department, and I was heading National Service Scheme Karnataka. We teamed up with the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, that is Karnataka's Health University, Medical University, and with NIMANS and with the National Health Mission to provide curated training on COVID 19 response to NSS officers and volunteers who in turn disseminated this content to communities. All this demands that we build up networks and skills, build each other up professionally with no room for envy or backbiting or jealousy. I foresee a change in the political culture of organizations where coordination and cooperation takes the place or replaces, water cooler gossip, so to say. Now, let me come to my second argument. If these changes are taking place in the professional world, what personal transformation is required from the post COVID 19 individual? That is all of us. Heraclitus said that the only thing that is constant is change. Pragmatism demands that we survive the present moment while building ourselves to thrive in a very different future. In a topsy-turvy world, how does one stay sane and calm? Questions are everywhere. What will the future hold? How will life change? What will the new normal be? Uncertainty is uncomfortable. Yet change is inevitable. And COVID 19 has only accelerated the pace of change and made it palpable. In such a dynamic an unpredictable situation, those who accept uncertainty and are willing to take swift, decisive, and risky action will hold the advantage. As lockdowns were announced and non essential businesses were instructed to close, what happened? Business owners were suddenly faced with a tough choice of either stopping operations completely or finding new ways to provide service. Many restaurants closed their doors, you remember that, but they kept their kitchens open, tying up with delivery services like Swiggy and Zomato. Barbers, whose salons closed down, began to offer home haircut services. Hence, the first personal transformation that the post COVID challenge demands from all of us is the realization that change is the only constant and that things may change any moment. This calls upon us to embrace uncertainty, develop equanimity, mental balance, emotional intelligence, and agility of thought and action. The second change, enter the continuous learning mode. Become a continuous learner. Continuous learning opens our minds and changes our attitudes. Knowledge is now at our fingertips. To function effectively in this rapidly changing world of technology, we need to learn new things to remain valuable. Those not making use of this opportunity will stagnate. Do not be left behind. Ensure that you remain up to date and keep up with industry trends and adapt your skill sets. Resources for continued learning are many. Read magazines and online articles. Analyze and critique case studies. Subscribe to publications relevant to your work or interest. Connect with global networks using Skype, social media, and email. Attend training courses and webinars like this one. Try MOOCs such as Coursera and edX. Listen to podcasts and watch documentaries. The days when one went through a neat progression of study, work, retire will be replaced by a career of constant personal reinvention and learning with doing. Thus, the second personal transformation required from all of us is continuous learning. It is vital to prepare yourself well for the coming future. The third and most important self transformation is the practice of collective social responsibility. We are familiar with CSR or corporate social responsibility, but this is not enough. CSR is still someone else's job. It is up to us to adopt personal social responsibility. We each have a duty to each other. Personal social responsibility is easy to practice, say by teaching a child or helping a destitute person in need. But what COVID 19 has brought home to us is a larger collective social responsibility. The health of our communities depends on our individual actions. Thus, it calls upon our responsibility to the community. There are many ways in which the pandemic has expanded the opportunities for exercising this new CSR, collective social responsibility. We suddenly became sharply aware of a joined up world. Paradoxically, COVID 19, while emphasizing physical distancing, reminded us also how interconnected our world really is. The virus spread from a market in Wuhan, China, to almost every corner of the globe in just 3 months. Such a public health crisis is a demonstration of how connected we are to the rest of the world. What happens overseas or in a neighboring state can directly and immediately impact lives in our country, our state, our home. As we collectively navigated the public health crisis, we also found ways to practice collective social responsibility. It is the general consensus of public health experts that the only way to counter the spread of COVID 19 was for each of us to follow the discipline and protocols, wash our hands, keep our distance, stay at home in lockdown. The health of our family, community, and economy depends on us setting aside personal wants and needs for the good of the whole community. Even in complying with the lockdown, while it might have felt that we were sheltering in place to benefit ourselves, paradoxically, we were also doing it for the common good. Social distancing caused a disconnection that could be disorienting. But while we needed to maintain physical distance to stop the spread of COVID 19, we needed social connection more than ever. Therefore, COVID 19 was an opportunity to practice collective social responsibility, helping us to overcome our prejudices, reinforcing our ethics and values, extending our reach, finding ways to reach out and involve, develop curiosity and compassion. Now, let me come to my third and final argument, how to bridge the professional changes and the personal transformation that is required from each of us. Here, I focus on just one tool, the criticality of capacity building. COVID 19 has thrown up challenges and changes in our professional world, primarily the importance of technology, the growth of freelancing and work from home, and the increase of lateral and cross sectoral collaboration. This in turn calls for personal transformations from each of us by embracing uncertainty and change, becoming continuous learners, and practicing collective social responsibility. Capacity building is the tool which enables this personal transformation. As we emerge out of the pandemic, it is to be expected that governments and corporates invest in better cities, health, education, technology, but most of all in capacity building. What aspects of capacity building should we as individuals and as a nation focus upon? First, leadership. Every big crisis is a test of leadership. But COVID 19 is not really about political influence or corporate power. It was about the everyday leadership that we, as individuals and as citizens, demonstrated in our daily lives. Therefore, our capacity building should focus as much as on qualities of character traits as on specializations. Traits such as calmness and equanimity, skills such as communication and problem solving, the attributes of a strong work ethic, and a compassionate worldview. And of course, the leadership that is able to lead with persuasion and influence and not dictate encourages participation, not hierarchy, and is purpose led and not power driven. These should form part of skill development as much as technical skills. Second, the front line and the back room become important. In an increasingly digitalized world, with social media creating a virtual reality, presence and authenticity become even more important. Now, let us take an example. Decision making in the pandemic was being taken at the higher levels of the medical fraternity, the bureaucracy, and the polity. But these decisions were crucially dependent on the kind of inputs and information that flowed up from the bottom, from the lab technician or the ASHA worker who is on the field. Similarly, the decisions taken at the apex level had to be properly disseminated to and understood by each person down the line. Without this, implementation would suffer. Now, COVID 19 was not merely a health crisis, it was a logistical marathon. Vast quantities of data, medical and non-medical, were collated, entered, sorted, cleaned, and readied for decision makers by tribes of data entry operators and analysts. As the pandemic progressed, we heard of swabs being improperly labeled, which became useless in determining treatment and containment. We realized that it is not the number of beds or the ventilators that determined outcomes, but the quality of medical personnel. Now, we can procure a bed or a ventilator, but to get a qualified nurse who understood infection control or a pulmonologist is not something that we can procure in a month or even a year. These are long term investments and highlight the importance of the frontline and backroom workers and teach us to respect dignity of labor. Third, the focus should be on training teams and not individuals. We saw that the pandemic makes freelancing acceptable as well as calling for greater collaboration across teams and organizations. It is likely that future teams will comprise permanent, temporary, freelance, and machine employees, and this diversity will call for greater need to build cohesion within the members. Yet our educational system does not prepare us for cross-sectoral coordination of equals. Engineers train with engineers, doctors with doctors, bureaucrats with bureaucrats. Within each fraternity, hierarchy is the fallback option to resolve differences of opinion. The senior most person is always right. But what happens when a policeman has to implement a medical decision made by a doctor based on data analytics produced by a computer scientist? We get lost in translation as they struggle with their different vocabularies and work processes. To avoid this and to face future crises better, we need to train teams, not individuals. Let me give you a simpler example. It will make it easy. Some of you would have heard of Ponniyin Selvan. It's the big budget movie, mega movie, which is making waves across the country. Now, when you're making a large movie like that, is it one person's effort? Is it even one uh, profession's effort? No. You have a director, you have actors, you have cameramen, you have set producers, you have audio technicians, you have video technicians, photographers. It is teamwork of different professions. We are able to accept it in certain creative fields where everything calls for teamwork. But where the higher education professions are concerned, we are yet to accept this as the norm. We better accept this as the new normal. We'll have to learn to work together in cross-sectoral teams. And therefore, to face future crises, we need to train teams, people in teams, cross-sectoral, multidisciplinary teams, not individuals. Our pedagogy should mandatorily include case studies, self reliance and decision making situations, problem solving, immersion experiences, and the like. In conclusion, let me say that choices, not crises, determine our opportunities. COVID 19 has changed the world like never before. The global lockdowns that we saw happening with COVID 19 were unprecedented and perhaps even incomprehensible to human minds. Yet, amidst all this, opportunities lurk. It is time for governments, businesses, and individuals, you and I, to prepare for the worst, but also prepare ourselves to recognize and utilize these opportunities and keep the faith that we will transform into a newer, stronger, and reinvented India. I wish the 2-day program on skill development all success and wish you all success in the future of your work. Jai Hind. Thank you all very much. You are on mute.
Sorry, madam. Thank you very much for your thoughts, very enlightening thoughts. And you are right. Choices are not crisis that defines our opportunities. And well defined. Your entire lecture, this 45 minutes lecture, was very defined in such a way that we all have our experience. And before you also, I was mentioning about while in my inaugural session, I was mentioning about the teamwork and problem solving. These employability skills matters now, along with your core skills. One thing, man, you're right. This your lifelong learning, and you outlined the components of outline, lifelong learning. Your attending courses, webinars, then your case studies, and the books and reviews. We all taken together really will help all of us to maintain for our employability or future work conditions they are required. And one thing, ma'am, I just want to know from you regarding you mentioned about some what there is about policemen and doctors and data, that component.
Yeah.
Somehow during the COVID period, I was also thinking the same way that, ma'am, see, somewhere our administration and economy should work in a team. That you mentioned here, the training in a teamwork is required from multi-sectoral. So I find, say, for example, the district collectors during the COVID period, they'll announce that tomorrow the market will open so and so time. Then after 2 days, they'll say no this time. So somehow I find, because of this lack of coordination and the understanding about economy and administration, many livelihoods lost. You must have seen in the Facebook also, social medias, that how officers going and throwing vegetables. And in somewhere I found one 80-year-old, this watermelon seller was beaten by an additional tahsildar because he was late for 15 or 20 minutes to wind up his business, because it was 11 o'clock, it was the last time. So somewhere this as per your understanding and your lecture, I'm also my experience is also similar, that somewhere need coordinations for better livelihood and to save livelihood at least. The question is, even generating livelihood, and we are destroying also sometimes livelihood. At least we should save the livelihoods also. So somewhere your guidance will help I think this is also the officers should also listen your lecture sometimes. Also, they should periodically invite you for motivation speaks. You are doing, I know, but and I hope our participants are really enlightened, and they will definitely make use of your words. Now I invite anyone wants to share something, or and some clarification and queries. Any questions from your side, students, participants? Anyone wish to ask any question? Doctor,
While
in the
they think of questions to ask, I'd like to address this point, which our education system actually needs. I am not saying an overhaul, but it needs something of a change.
yes, yes,
It is so information based, knowledge based, and it is not really focusing on the development of the complete individual. And it is also, we seem to respect a person. Let us say, even you, while you were introducing, very tangible achievements are what are respected in our society. You top an examination, it is respected. You get a degree, it is respected. You join a good institution or a good profession, it's what you are as an individual may not, it took me a very long time to come to this understanding. But the, there could be someone far more intelligent, but without the credentials, but will have the substance, but will not get recognition as society. So this, I think, is what our education system should focus on. That qualities of compassion. You were mentioning about the watermelon seller. Now, how did we approach this whole issue of distancing? The intention was safety. There's nothing wrong with the intention, but the methodology was the age-old methodology of danda. But
Yes.
that was not was needed. What was needed at that time? What was needed was a more sympathetic and empathetic approach. That yes, I need you to cooperate with me in seeing that this pandemic does not spread. Now, were we able to bring all people together? There were some groups of people, segments of people whom we were able to co-opt. Those we did not have the time or the patience to co-opt everybody who did not understand at first instance. And you remember the migrant crisis in 2020. So when I took over as in labor department, I joined in early 2021. And the first thing I said was that I do not want my laborers on the streets. So what should I do to see that they are not on the streets? And that does not mean that putting them under lock and key.
Yes.
So you will have to find me. So I went to them and asked them, that what do you want? Fortunately, being in my position, everybody, even workers may not be accessible to everyone, but I was able to meet them. I asked them, what do you want? And at that time, we were announcing compensation and distributing food kits. And they said, yes, we are very happy that you are giving us food and you are distributing food and you are giving us compensation. But we are workers. What we want is work and pagar. In Canada, is now ಕೆಲಸಗಾರರು. We are workers. ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇಕು, ಪಗಾರ ಬೇಕು. We want our work and we want our wages. We are not looking for your dole. So then we said, okay, then our policy should go towards, we should aim to see that they have the work, not destroy their livelihood in the name of safety, which meant a policy decision. We said, okay, we'll allow in situ workers to stay in situ. They need not go away from their labor colonies. Wherever you have these large Prestige and Brigade and all large construction groups, lot of construction is going on in Bangalore and Karnataka, across Karnataka. We said, okay, let them work. But when you say that in a pandemic situation, workers can stay in situ and continue to work, it puts the onus on the government, because how do you avoid the pandemic from spreading? So then we said, okay, we will see that everybody is tested. So the onus of testing fell on us. Some industries, they themselves took it up. Many of the large industries, they said, we will test at our own cost. Government did not do it. They themselves did it. For some others, we did it using our ESIS hospitals. Then a massive vaccination drive. So you remember last time when our Prime Minister's birthday, the last year, one of the way in which we gifted him was through our vaccination drive, and 1% was contributed by my department alone.
Yes.
By vaccination of construction workers of the whole country, I'm saying. So you can see the massive vaccination drive which we undertook at that time. And then we said, we will not stop with this. Let us address their long term, how to build up resilience. So then, not just compensation for the immediate food kits for immediate relief of hunger, but for long-term resilience, health assistance, medical testing, education assistance, so that the next generation is not at the same level, skilling. All those were long-term projects which we took care of. So when we say it should not stop with words, it is true that the first thing to do is, yes, you say that this is what we should do. We lay our objectives, but there is a path from the problem to the solution, and that path means certain decisions certain responsibility being taken by all of us. So that is what policy and implementation should do. So I was just trying to address that particular issue that you had raised.
No, no, you're right. Actually, madam, actually, I studied public economics masters and public administration also. So I think somewhere, see, we should be sensitive. Economics and public administration should understand each other.
Yes.
So then only we'll have a
True.
effective ending. So
And ethics. And ethics.
I request anyone wants to share something or ask any questions. Dr. Indra Kumar, do you have any question? Mr. Indra Kumar, are you there? Or anyone? Montrisna? Any point from Assam? Any viewpoint from Assam? You want to add something or share some of your experience or feelings with ma'am? चार्ट में देखते हैं, चार्ट में कोई क्वेश्चन
ये नहीं है, चैट चलता है।
शो लिया फोटो यार, ये कहाँ चला गया
भाई? मैंने सवाल कर दिया ना।
अरे इसको ना
वेबएक्स
ये वाला। हाँ, so if you don't have any questions, Sangeeta?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm right now lecturer in fashion designing department of Marwari College, Ranchi University. My issue is
Slightly louder, please. It's,
yeah. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Actually, my students are into fashion designing, and I just wanted to know the impact of skill development. You know, the skill is developed, but the impact is not means as such means expected. Like the graduate students and the postgraduate students of fashion designing, they are getting the jobs of just 8 to 10,000. Like they are getting the jobs of operators, not the as a designers. And there are many industries opening in Ranchi also, but still they are not appointing in a good post. They are just taking as an operator. Like those PG students, then the impact of this skill development is not as much as expected.
Yeah, see, the thing is, as an economy and as a society, we are yet to accept skilling as an integral and legitimate part of higher education. There is still, let us say, between a mechanic who actually works with his hands and an engineer who probably has the knowledge and the theory but does not actually work on the shop floor, who will get the higher pay in today's society? It is always the engineer. This is a society which has not yet learned to accept. Even parents, they will encourage their children to go towards a degree. You get a BA degree or a BSc degree, even if you go for a totally different job. You may take a. You have so many students with engineering degrees, and they will be working in a call center. So, as a society, we should change, and also, areas like fashion designing. See, these are. It needs an affluent society to back it. A society which is willing to invest in clothes, invest in accessories, invest in looking good. That now in a largely conservative as well as partly poverty-stricken society, what is the segment which will support this kind of skill? So that is what is happening. The one, top of the head, one thing which I can think of is that in such areas, it is better that there is a collaboration and they go in for a startup and then start targeting niche segments of the consumers rather than try to explore the whole market. If you're going in for high-end designing, come together, target certain segments of the population which will actually be able to support you, which will have that kind of purchasing power as well as that kind of aesthetic interest. So again, Bangalore is here also there are lots of experiments being done. Bangalore is the home of startups, as you know. Some succeed, some fail, but this is something which it can be explored. Again, there are no simple single answers which will remedies for this. Yeah, any society which is in transition is going to face these opportunities. Available outside are shrinking. Opportunities have to be made by each of us. That is what I can say. There are also mentoring institutions available, so you can try to connect some of them. I am also connected to some of them. Like, I can refer you, and they will also try to if anyone is going in for a startup, they will mentor such startups.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, rightly, actually, madam pointed out, because that is the now it is unemployment, more than unemployment, underemployment is a challenges for us.
Yeah.
And to some extent also, if you see the India skill report that comes out every year, the employability of our professionals is also a question. So I was seeing the data that how in measures, say for example, B Tech, it is in 2021, 46% was employability for B Tech. For MBA, 46%. For BA Arts, 42%. For BCom, 40%. BSc, 30%. MCA, 22%. And Polytechnics, 25%. B Pharma, 37%. Which domains have more employability talents in that sector? So this is a world skill, India skill report every year that comes out through CII and some other, even government universities are also. So underemployment is also, madam, challenge.
Yeah.
You have to see that how you rightly had pointed out that how our education should match. So that is why, ma'am, I think I was mentioning about how UGC has now come out with a plan for professor in practice.
Yeah.
So 1/10 up will be there from practitioners from field, so
Yes.
that they can support our academics also. Just to connect that mismatch can also be minimized to some way.
True.
So anyone or else will close the session.
Dr. Sangeeta, you can write to me and I'll put you on to some mentoring organizations which may, if any of your students are interested in having a startup, they will guide.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
ma'am.
Because this, that ecosystem is growing, where you have people who will both guide and some who will fund also, who will try to find funding for you. So I can put you on to some. You can write to me separately. You can share my email with her and.
Yes. So
Okay,
you are there in your fingertips. You will be available for all of them within Google. No need of giving.
Quite literally fingertips, because everything is on the keyboard now.
Another thing, ma'am, actually, since you are now the labor department with you, and in many ways you have also been pioneer in many cases. Say 5 years back, I was conducting a program here on decent work in construction industry, promoting decent work in construction industry, where officials and managements and trade unions, all the social partners came. So there, I came to know your one secretary, construction board came participate. and she informed that how the Karnataka board has come out with enhancing your coverage area to bricklins also, which is by law is not actually where the Factory Act and their Construction Act doesn't work. But somehow your board has extended the coverage for these bricklin workers. So then I, through that program, also other West Bengal government's officers wanted the model, same model replicated, and they took up their ministers also. So in many ways, your department, now you are leading the department. I hope it would also be inspiring others in other states also. Your sensitiveness towards the working class, and that you mentioned about how you were managing our migrant worker issues. And I think in Karnataka also, these migrant workers were also probably the registering. They, for 4 or 5 years back, they were registering the migrant workers in the board also. So
Yeah,
somewhere, I,
we are doing, and now Government of India has come up with the e-Shram database,
yes, 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 Ram.
where you are registering virtually all workers, both
Mhm.
organized and unorganized. So that will become a massive database for all of us.
Yesterday also, madam, we were discussing. Our honorable secretary came to our institute, Madam Arti Ahujaji. So we were discussing regarding e-Shram portal, how to make it more vibrant.
Yeah.
And actually, there are many things. Actually, I attended now recently in Jaipur. We are attending participating some outreach events where all of Government of India's organizations are coming there, including DRDO, ISRO, then Geological Survey of India, Skill India. So from our side, I also take our team to there, and this time also we got the first prize there also. Thing is that there are many things. Actually, I found. I told Madam yesterday also, Madam. Even ISRO second and DRDO third. I, Madam, found with my way of reaching out, or starting from school to college to university level students, teachers, professor, almost 10,000 people visited in that program. Somewhere, ma'am, I found that though our labor ministry is as the objectivity starts where work starts mostly, but still I found the students from schools to college, when we sensitize them, we make them aware about these initiatives, national career service, and all these things. Somewhere this livelihood, career, welfare matters to the people still now. So that
Yeah,
is the reflection that I found, that people voted. I mean, visitors wanted that we should given the first prize. So somewhere so you are fortunate that you are now leading to such a department where you can also immensely feel proud and contribute, not only for Karnataka, also for the nation as a whole.
in multiple ways, in any growing developing economy, governance matters, both
Ji,
in terms of policy but also in terms of direct impact on the people.
ji, ji.
It will take a few more decades for us to become self-reliant in that sense, where you are completely independent of government, where you can sustain. Then it needs a very large and very strong economy.
Ji, ji.
So for some time, this present trend will be there. But I also look forward to a day when the reliance people become reliant on their own. That they
Yes,
don't
yes.
need uh, the the best government is that which makes itself irrelevant over a
Madam,
period of
this is our strength also. If you see the data, our self-employment data is 48%. So
yeah.
by nature, we are entrepreneurial. By nature, we have been managing our own affairs. 48% people are dependent upon their small micro enterprises, and they need some kind of ecosystem and conducive environment.
Yeah, actually.
That support system is required. Otherwise, we have that strength.
We
That is
have
why.
this
uh,
capital was at maybe 5 years ago I would have said capital was a constraint, but now everywhere around I see that there are people willing to invest also. There are
mhm.
enough people willing to invest on somebody else's idea.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and so even capital is no longer a constraint. So you say the other thing should grow. It should also become easy. Entry and exit barriers should be less. It should be easy for to start an industry and to close an industry also. If you are, you want to shift, then
uh,
it should be possible to do that.
that is also.
Anyway, I think we are moving in the right direction. So let us.
Some also like some schemes like Mudra Yojana and Mudra schemes for small enterprise to support them. Mudras and PMEGY and I was going through some reports yesterday also for taking session in other program also. I find that how they have been also helpful. And personally, I intervene in my last week. I was taking a session in our institute. So somebody from Puducherry told sir Mudra ke bare mein I was telling. Sir, but I went and they said that you require some collateral or something. I said it's without. Who told you? Then which bank and this bank? Do you have the number of the manager? Yes, he gave me the number. Then I called the manager. He said I told that I am so and so and I am taking a session. And how are you asking for collateral? He said, no, we are not asking who told you. So he was little. I said, no, somebody who went to you and I then handed over the phone and he talked directly and he said, no, aisa nahi hai, sir, we are the top, giving mudras. Sir, you ask him to come Monday and we'll give loans. So sometimes when I ask managers, they come here also for taking sessions. I invite. So they say, sir, we see that we have to see the aptitude of the one. You told that capital may not be the now hurdle, but your aptitude and other issues also, like you told some factors that is also. So your proposal, your ideas, and your aptitude also matters. So that is why this kind of programs to encourage our youngsters that how they should be entrepreneur, become entrepreneur, and so these kind of programs are also we are taking up for these reasons. So to encourage students, they should come up with new ideas, and as you told, angel investors through incubation centers are also startups and new and these professionals, those who are now those I heard a couple who came from Australia and they have started an hydraulic this leaf that use in our this we use this leaves in salads. This
Mm.
leaves, they have started in Hyderabad. I was going through their profiles.
Okay.
So this kind of new ideas, people are coming with new ideas and taking risks and also excelling in this area.
And you should say that if they are investing on one product, then they have done some research that there is an assured market for that particular product, which is a leaf used in a salad. It's a small market. It's a single product focused initiative or enterprise, but it may work.
Yes,
So,
yes. Madam, what is your experience about this one product, one district? How it is going on in Karnataka? One product, one district. Are you aware about this?
I'm aware about this, but top of this thing, I don't have any knowledge. I'll just have to check and.
Actually, this is also nowadays going on in many districts. One and another, as you told about the viability of the product of your enterprise. This RCT, this Rural Self-Employment Training Institute, which is in every district and is started in Karnataka, Root City.
Road
That model
sets.
government of India has actually
Yes.
adopted this RCT, and they are giving trainings at district level. In every district there is a RCT which is by the lead bank. Lead bank is managing,
Yes. Yes.
and they are giving trainings to poor youth, those who are interested to take up their enterprise, and those who
Yeah.
want to remain in their own state districts or
District.
state, and not for forced migration. So they are given they're taking some aptitudes to psychologists, and they found that yes, he really wants to start something. So they give them trainings for 6 weeks for that particular product or resource or service or something, and then they give handholding support through bank loan. And I visited one Ghaziabad RCT 2 3 years back with my international participants as a field tour, and the director told me that the repayment that they provided to their trainees, they're 100%. under repayment. I mean, they have used the money and they have repaid the enterprise. And the fact is that the condition is there that whatever product or service or whatever you decide to start your enterprise, that should have the local demand. Local demand.
Yeah.
So for example, so if somebody cannot, if you in Haridwar you start hatchery, it cannot succeed because there are now more than people are vegetarian there. So so wherever you, so that is the whole idea that I am just connecting that you told that that product that you want to start, that should have the viability and demand in the local demand at least. So we cannot export the things. So then only this self-reliant concept we can nurture and we can be successful. It can be successful.
See, root cities, I visited several years ago. They were doing very well in the Dakshina Kannada area. But that was, see, again, it was not a very large initiative at that time when I had gone. This must be 20, 25 years ago when I visited. Then of course, I also visited some which were run by the banks. They were, to the extent which I saw, yes, they were successful. See, these experiments, by and large, depend on the individuals who are running them, their interest, their personal initiative, how they are able to select the candidates. And banks, by and large, are conservative in loans, but that handholding support largely helps. Now I think we are, while government has done its part, I think private sector seems to be entering in a very big way. If you remember that the last time you had invited was on the creative economy.
Yes.
The creative economy, it is just taken off. You have umpteen number of entrepreneurs who are interested in, identifying local talent and selling not to very large markets. They don't have something like a handicraft development corporation, which every state has, for example, or CCIE or something. They identify certain markets, certain customers, and they are able to sell to them. High value, high quality, high priced goods, but done by very good local talent.
But ma'am, there are, as Sangeeta was pointing out something and you answered it, Sangeeta's viewpoint. Madam, I personally had visited 2-3 nowadays social startups, social enterprises, startups and enterprises. In Mumbai, there is a Teaser India, Megha Falsekar. I visited while doing a program there with our participants. In Maharashtra Institute of Labor Studies, I was doing a program, collaborative program. So I visited this organization called Teaser India. Ma'am, and here is in Delhi, there are so many organizations like this, like Pili Dori, some National Fashion Technology pass out students. They have come out with a startup. Now, what they are doing, they are working with the local artisans, and they're giving some skills, new kind of competency building, and they are marketing their products also with nationally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. So these kind of organizations are also now, and thereby enhancing the financial upgradation and of the artisans also.
Yes.
So these kind of organizations are also now doing a good job. I mean, they're. I think I have visited 2-3, so I'm also planning to do a kind of more work on them. So this is a new changes that is taking place. That artisans and the crafts or handicrafts people, they also require certain kind of support system from intervention, so that for market purpose, marketability of their products.
E-commerce has made it easier. Now you can market a large number of products on Amazon, and even if the artisan will not have direct accessibility, which also the larger artisans are able to access directly. But even if very small artisans are not able to do it, there can be somebody who bridges that gap.
Yes, 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 yes.
Then they can aggregate it and then market it on any of these websites. E-commerce has made a lot of things possible, and as you said, it is a possible to access international markets. I
Hmm.
used to be managing director of Kaveri Handicrafts. At that time, e-commerce was just beginning, and it was unthinkable. So if we wanted, we used to open showrooms in different parts of India. Even Delhi has a Kaveri Handicraft showroom in
Ha,
Parrot
ha.
Place area.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
so do most of the other. But now you don't need that at all. No, you don't need that whole infrastructure. You can just market. We started at that time putting things on the web in our own website. We started, but now it is so easy with it comes with its own conditionalities, with its own constraints, but the possibility exists, and that seems to be everybody's pet area for startups here and aggregators. That's what I see in Bangalore, especially those who are straddling that NGO academic space. They seem to be very interested in this creative economy
Hmm, 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 hmm. Right, right.
area rather than hard industry or anything like that. This seems to be a very good possibility for them.
Even your Karnataka Bhavan's laddu is also, madam, very. Whenever I go there by there, I find in your laddus prepared by Karnataka Bhavan. They have packets of laddus.
Okay. I didn't know
So that
this.
is also.
Which
Thank you.
particular, I mean, we have those different types of laddus here. We have, so it must be possibly some.
No, but when I go through
Uh,
airport, that when we go through airport, we go by Karnataka Bhavan. So sometimes I
okay.
stop there and I take it with to my place, and people also like it.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that Karnataka Bhavan sold laddus. So,
So in a lighter note,
that's
lighter note. So so thank you, and we should. I must thank you for your gracious presence and
so,
discussing with all our participants. I think, friends, if you don't have any questions, so we should stop here and we should let ma'am uh, start her own work. So shall we stop here? Sangita? Sangita, are you there? I think so there.
it's low. There's something wrong with the audio. So you can.
So they're saying a long distance and they're using mobile networks and sometimes
Ah,
mobile networks also.
yeah.
So I was telling one thing to share you. It's a very heartening also that in the morning
Hmm.
from this Jharkhand one professor, one teacher, assistant professor probably Amita ji. She actually to our participants, Evelina is there, Evelina, and so they were having some issues in their mobile phone. So she connected with her mobile phone in Madam and let
Oh,
them participate.
that's.
So this is how we are managing our, we are managing our things. Many things we are managing, and as you told that, yeah, as you mentioned that activities like PhDs and in which university you have studied, where you gave lectures, these matters. But these are small, small gestures, and is very heartening gestures. How a teacher is facilitating her student through
Yes.
her own mobile phone. So I was telling her that. कि भाई why you try that where your institute or your department have some computers, they can also facilitate for sometimes for 2 days. So
Hmm.
these are also, madam, accessibility issues also. Still we are at a good position, but still we lag somewhere and accessing the things also. That is why. So I am not putting pressure on our participants much actually, so that because they are managing their own mobiles, own data. So so that is why I am grateful to them that whoever have joined with our programs with keen interest. I have assured them that you will be definitely benefited out of this 2 days program, and it will be memorable for you. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank
You
you so
really
much.
made this day, and by your appearance and being such a position and important position, you are still also have that passion to connect people, whether small group or large group. Uh, I must thank from the core of my heart, and you are really uh, ideal for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Thank you.
Have a great program.
Ji ma'am, thank you very much.